Hello ladies and gentlemen, and yes, we are back with another Batman 66 episode review. Today, we'll be reviewing the episode, The Greatest Mother of Them All. So without further ado, let's get into the video. We'll begin our episode at the Gotham City Mother's Day Fair, when it is ambushed by the mobster Ma Parker and her felonious family. Her oldest son, Pretty Boy, middle son, Machine Gun, and last son, Mad Dog, along with a daughter named Legs, who have now arrived in Gotham and plan a crime spree. We then cut to Police Commissioner Gordon's office, where we get a little bit of info that Ma Parker is a notorious gangster and has operated and terrorized every city in the country, but has never stepped foot in Gotham because of Batman and Robin. I like the little scene when Chief O'Hara thinks it's because of the police department, but Gordon reassures him it's because of Batman and Robin. They're the ones she's been afraid of. We then, of course, get the usual Bruce Wayne Manor scene. They get the phone call and slide down the bat poles. The opening credits, and Batman and Robin quickly rush to Gotham City Police Department, where Batman is overlooking Ma Parker's record and is amazed at how a woman like this has still remained at large. Already, we've been told that Ma Parker may be the most menacing criminal of Batman's career, and of course, she's also quite motherly. So already we got a bit of info on her. We then get a phone call from Commissioner Gordon from one of his deputies saying that they've just cornered her at Cherry Blossom Road, where her family is inside. We then cut to there, where it's a classic standoff between Ma Parker and basically her family. Well, technically Ma Parker, as her family is having essentially dinner. While this is happening, Batman and Robin make their way there. We also find out that Ma Parker is arguably the worst shot in the country. Now, Batman and Robin do arrive and break into the place, and a bat fight begins. With the tune to the 10 Little Indians. I like that little nod. Essentially, the goons, in this case, which are her sons, are all incapacitated, and then Ma Parker is soon pretty much arrested, but she's motherly, saying she only got involved in crime to support her family. Batman, being kind and not rushed to judgment, saying that she will be judged mercifully. As she is taken out, Ma Parker does her usual mother routine, where she then throws a smoke bomb for the gang to escape. Just as everyone's making their escape by car, Batman only manages to tackle and pretty much arrest Pretty Boy, while the rest make their escape. Realizing this defeat, Batman says he will not rest until all of Ma Parker's brood are locked up in the penitentiary. Batman and Robin then go back to the Batcave to use the Batcomputer to deduce Ma Parker's next crime. There, they find out that she plans to rob a movie theater. Specifically, its box office. Quickly, Batman and Robin then quickly rush, and just as they arrive there, Ma Parker, Legs, Machine Gun, and Mad Dog are about to hop into a nearby truck that they've managed to commandeer from a local passenger. Just as they're making their escape, Machine Gun fails to get in the truck on time, and Batman and Robin quickly apprehend him. They then open up his violin case, thinking to be a machine gun because, well, he is a gangster. But it turns out it's actually a violin. I like that nice little gag. Already throughout the episode, Ma Parker is constantly hinting to a big plan, and it somehow involves the Gotham City Penitentiary. We're still left in the dark. Batman manages to deduce that Ma Parker must be going to a drugstore booth because of a conversation heard earlier. Ma Parker, Legs, and Mad Dog, the only son left, are essentially holding up the drugstore booth and essentially robbing it. Batman and Robin quickly jump in the place. Ma Parker and Legs make their escape, but they incapacitate Mad Dog. With pretty much the sons out of action, Batman only needs to locate Ma and Legs. They manage to do this because of Ma's disguise of being an old lady. They realize she must be hiding out in an old lady's home. There, they go there to check, where they find out she's been hiding there under the alias of Smith, and plans and try to escape using a high-speed rocket wheelchair. I'm not making this up. Anyway, it goes horribly awry, and essentially, Legs and Ma are quickly arrested. But Batman says something feels strange. We then cut to Gotham State Penitentiary, where Ma and Legs join the rest of her family. It is revealed that some of the most notorious criminals in the world are locked up there, courtesy of Batman and Robin. and that Warden Crichton is about to start his rehabilitation program. Batman and Robin then leave. And just as Warden Crichton orders the guards to take, well, Ma Parker away, the guards then turn on him and essentially arrest Warden Crichton. Ma Parker then reveals that she's taken over the prison. The majority of the guards have been substituted for members of her gang and has been planning this for months. She then plans to essentially run the pen. But just before that happens, she quickly places dynamite in the Batmobile's car, thanks to one of her men who is a trustee, a sort of prisoner. And just as Batman and Robin quickly get in the Batmobile and drive off, Ma Parker then reveals that the Batmobile will explode when the pedometer reaches 60. And that's where we end our cliffhanger. A lot of the cast really doesn't really change. Well, not quite, I should really say. Alfred and Harriet again have small screen presence, and again, when we see Bruce and Dick, again, very small, very minor, it's all fun and good, and it's very brief. Batman and Robin here up against a new villain. That's what I like about this. They're up against a brand new villain, but this time it's a villain who has a notorious criminal notoriety. And this will not be the first time Batman and Robin will have to tackle a notorious villain with a big criminal record and reputation, which I think is actually the first time they've done this. You see, we pretty much so far had them go up against villains who are villains that they've gone up against, but we've never heard of, with the exception of being really the Minstrel, which is a villain that came out of nowhere. And I think the closest they have for a villain like this would be Zelda, who is a villain they've never encountered, but know of her kind of. Because, whatever. Chief O'Hara and Commissioner Gordon are getting, more repetitive and being the dumb, bimbling detectives. Police department, really. Another thing I also like is Warden Crichton being back, at least for a very brief moment. It may not be as much screen time, but I absolutely do love him. But of course, let's get to the main villain. Ma Parker, portrayed by Shelly Winters. Oh my god. Now, I will admit, when I first watched the series, and I first saw this episode, I will admit, I was fully into it, but yet not fully, because I thought Ma Parker was a very weak villain. But now that I've gotten older, she's become one of my absolute favorites. Not breaking top 10, but an absolute fun addition nonetheless. First off, for those who don't know about this character, again, she was created specifically for the show, but this character does originate from a person. This character is pretty much a parody and a copy of the notorious Ma Parker. Now, for those who don't know about this as much as I do, okay, I'll quickly brief you. During the early 1930s, when notorious bank robbers were pretty much robbing banks across the Midwest and country towns, there were notorious gangsters. John Dillinger, Pretty Boy Floyd, Babyface Nelson, Bonnie and Clyde, Machine Gun Kelly, and of course there was the notorious Barker and Karpus gang, who was led by Fred Barker and the notorious Alvin Karpus, aka Creepy, the last of the Public Enemy #1 era. Now, the thing is, if you're thinking, well, what's this got to do with that? Well, here's the thing. You see, Fred Barker was the son of Ma Barker. At least that's what her nickname was called. Now, she was the mother of these 3 sons who went around with them as they robbed banks and done kidnapping jobs. Most of her sons pretty much ended up dead, with Alvin Karpus being arrested. Sadly, Ma Barker also died. Now, the thing is, back then, killing an old lady was something absolutely horrendous, even for law enforcement, which the feds did. So in order to essentially cover his ass, and by ass I mean J. Edgar Hoover and all his G-men, they made up the legend that Ma Barker was really the notorious leader of the gang. She masterminded all the robberies, and as a result, the legend of Ma Barker being this old lady that ran this criminal gang was created. And she went around, and as a result, movies and TV shows had her character be this notorious gangster. Now, of course, the show does a bit of the parody of that, but I like how she is a criminal and a mother. She really cares about her sons, and often chastises her daughter being involved in crime, saying women shouldn't be involved. A bit of a hypocrite, or maybe just something wanting better for her daughter, not to follow in their footsteps. Ma Parker also says she got involved in crime to support her son, to support her family. Don't know whether that's really true, but I really like that. For me, I really feel Shelly Winters doesn't play it too kooky or too campy, but plays it absolutely straight. This is a phenomenal actress, and for me makes this role, which again, just like King Tut, shouldn't work on paper, but manages to breathe it into the big screen. Another thing I also like about these pair of episodes is the Henchmen. Now, I've never really talked about Henchmen or really having a picture or moment to really dedicate how good the Henchmen are. However, I find this interesting because they're not really henchmen, they're her actual sons. Pretty Boy, Machine Gun, and Mad Dog. And of course, the mole, Legs, which is essentially her daughter. Now, I like the family dynamic, but I also can get into the names. Now, like I said, Ma Parker is essentially a parody of the old bank robbing gangsters of the 30s, you know, when the FBI were going up against them, the public enemies. And their names are derived from at least notorious gangsters of the 30s, whether they were country towns or the big city. For country towns such as Pretty Boy, obviously Pretty Boy Floyd, and the way he was taken down was how Pretty Boy Floyd was taken down. Though Pretty Boy Floyd in real life was actually gunned down whilst trying to escape a farm home. Machine Gun was based off Machine Gun Kelly, and like in real life, he did surrender, but in real life he said surrender, oh, don't shoot me, G-Man, just as like he said, you got me, Cape Crusader. And Mad Dog was the notorious Irish gangster Mad Dog Cole, who got the nickname because of him famously gunning down a 5-year-old boy in New York. I'm not sure if that's the connection, but I like to think it is, and plus he is shown to be wild and mad. Kind of like what from my research, Mad Dog was like in real life. And Legs, other than the obvious, I could also maybe buy a little bit of a reference to Jack Legs Diamond, a notorious gangster in New York, and also died tragically. And I really like the dynamic and how interesting they are. They bring their own personality, and I absolutely love it. The Greatest Mother of Them All is a very different episode. I absolutely love it now than I probably did when I was younger, and I can get into it due to all the gangster references, how the gangsters were taken down. Interesting fact, when I said Mad Dog was in real life was killed in a drugstore, but in a drugstore phone booth. It was a bit different back then. Also, the other references, such as Brood. There was a gangster movie called Ma Barker's Brood, or Bloody Brood, essentially that. And of course, outside the movie theater, the movie was called A Lady in the Red Dress, the notorious informant who was responsible for selling out John Dillinger when he got gunned down outside the movie theater. I get these references, and I can enjoy it because of my love for the old gangsters. I really love this, and the idea of a plot essentially to take over Gotham State Prison is a pretty ingenious plot, and I'm surprised that no modern comics has done that. It's a really fun episode. There we have it, The Greatest Mother of Them All, the first episode for the notorious Ma Parker. Tune in next time we'll review the second episode to this part, Ma Parker. So stick around for that. So until next time, same Steven time, the same Steven channel, and the same Steven hour. And ladies and gentlemen, so long for now.